Joining TechExcel today. My name is Renee Alanis. I'm the Senior Marketing Manager here at TechExcel. TechExcel is proud to host our 2012 webcast series. We hold informative webinars on various topics once a month throughout the year. So be sure to visit our website at techexcel.com for the current list of webinars. And regarding today's presentation, I encourage all of you to use the question function located at the lower right-hand corner of your screen. Just type in your question and we will answer them at the end of today's discussion. Now I'd like to introduce our wonderful speaker today, George Olney. He's a Chief Operating Officer from Summit Software, an iRely company. Thank you, George.
Thank you very much. We're going to go through about a 45-minute session here, and then we're going to go through with questions. So I'm going to overview how we implemented TechExcel and how it helped us. So I'm just going to start right off here with some slides, and if we go fast enough, we can get into some of the software and show you what we've done. iRely, what we do is deliver enterprise software to the commodities industry. So we do trading, risk management, manufacturing, distribution, agricultural and petroleum services. And we have offices in about 5 countries, 200 coworkers. We deliver a complete rainbow of services for the commodities industry, and we're currently acquiring additional companies and rolling them in under our umbrella. And as we grew, we started to look for a solution for our call desk. Again, just from an overview perspective, we're quite large in scope. We have quite a disparate workforce in 5 countries. So we got to a point where we said, hey, it's very difficult for us and our customers to contact us, go to one place, find out the status of all the events and all the issues that affect them across multiple platforms. So through TechExcel, we've been able to facilitate that. My background is I've been an operations guy since I can remember. I've grew up in Chicago and moved here to Fort Wayne to our corporate office about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. I've always been involved in manufacturing and detailed operations, and now software operations, which is very similar to the software projects that I've been writing in the past. So I have a deep understanding of how operations should work, and that partially is what led us to the workflow flexibility model of TechExcel. Now, what happened for us as we went through the TechExcel project is we had a quick implementation. We did not lose much momentum from the sales cycle, and that was huge from our perspective of getting it done quickly. I would say from the date at which we signed paperwork to when we went live, it was only 20 days, but the whole buying cycle was probably 90 days once we really hit it hard and started attacking. So from buy to implementation, maybe 90 days.
Hey, George, this is Renee. I just want to let you know your slides don't seem to be advancing.
How about now?
That looks good. Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much. So what we did in order to ensure that we had a quick implementation was that we started with a list of objectives, and then we distilled those into the objectives that were really driving an ROI for us. So we had so many people give us so many features with the new call queue system that they wanted that we really wanted to distill those into like-to-haves and what really drove an ROI. And when we came down to it, 5 key elements really were the critical things that drove us to our return on investment. So we targeted strictly on those 5 and made the other 98 or 95 nice-to-haves. Now, we did accomplish a lot of those, and we're now going back and hitting them as we can prove ROI on those. But it was really key that we centered around the 5 most important things to us and delivered those, because we didn't want to compromise those. We could compromise other things, but we did not want to compromise those key objectives. And at the end of the day, we are very satisfied with what we got from our system. And I said end of the day, but throughout the day, so to speak, we were very happy also. We really didn't have too many shortcomings of this project. How did we select a product is another question that we are frequently asked with respect to our TechExcel implementation. We had initially in January and February done a quick buy versus make. That was easy. Once we started seeing some of the products that were out in the environment, we said, hey, there's no way we're going to make this. We are a software development company, but that core competency is not in support systems. So we said, this is no way near our core competency. There's no reason for us to spend time on this. So in January and February, as we were doing the buy versus make, we had accumulated a list of vendors that could potentially drive our solution, and TechExcel was one of them. Now, at the end of February, when we were locked down and we said, okay, here's our list of vendors that could help us, we aren't going to make this product, we started to set up pilot systems. And so we actually, one of the things that was very attractive to us about TechExcel, as well as a couple other vendors, is that we could download the solution off the web and get it running without the assistance of their professional service group. Now, we did need some help on training and configuration, but for us to be able to download the product was critical, because it said, hey, there's not many major install issues. We can use it, we can get acclimated to it, and it won't really kill us from a maintenance and resource perspective as far as keeping the system going on an ongoing basis. So we set up a couple systems that we knew we could download and pilot, and we proceeded to build a scorecard so that we could say, okay, look, when we judge these systems, here's what we're going to judge them on. And those 5 ROI points that I referred to in the prior model were key in the evaluation and in the scorecard concept. We kept the scorecard very simple, very short, and very clear. So it was pass or fail, you know, and then there were multiple concepts that we thought were critical to our implementation. So once we went through the scorecard, we kind of whittled it down. We actually whittled it down to 3 solutions that we could do proof of concept for, and we'll talk about that as we go on. But we did that. We kind of went through the proof of concept with a couple companies, which is a lot of work. Then we went to an advanced pilot once we selected one vendor. So at the end of March, we were at the point where we said, look, we're ready to go through an advanced pilot, because we think at that point it was TechExcel. We said we think TechExcel meets our needs. By mid-April, we said, yeah, it really looks good. We're going to buy. On May 1st, we finished our end user training. Now, throughout the whole process, we had done extensive team training, but we took it for a week to our core of users, which is about, well, the first group was about 30 users, and then the second group was about 60. So the first group, we broke our teams into 2 groups, and the first group was about 30 users. We gave them a week to train and get up to speed after we knew it worked. Now, throughout the process, we had been exposing key users to the system, but we didn't train early on. We trained right before we went live, which was critical. Picking the team, how we did that, I'm going to review some details of how we got through in 90 days. We had 3 groups that we determined were stakeholders. We have a tech group, which actually does hardware support, hardware install, hardware implementation. We have a support group and a development group. So we took someone from each of those teams and we put them in the project team to actually pilot through the solution, so they'd be the lead for their group, and if any questions came up, they would actually be responsible for answering them. So that really helped us tremendously as far as we were concerned. Now, from our list of vendors, you can see who we chose from. We did have a pretty extensive list. I've been in software, as I said, and operations for a significant time, so I knew a couple of the competitors. I hadn't heard of TechExcel before our implementation. We found them on the web, and we thought that they were very interesting from the workflow perspective. So we had known some of these, and then we searched them out detailed on the web. We did pretty extensive financial search to make sure everybody was viable from a financial perspective, and we went from there. So after we had picked our list and we decided to set up a pilot, we picked one of the cheapest and easiest solutions, which is Smarter Tech. And really the key to that was it was just too small of a company. There was no enterprise consulting group. It was good function, but no workflow, and the workflow is critical, and that's what drove us in TechExcel. And then customer tracking. I mean, it was a really small-end solution at the time we evaluated it. We also picked another couple systems, but we piloted Smarter Tech and TechExcel, and TechExcel was the dominant player there. Our scorecard, as I said, couple list of things, technology. We did want a technology platform that was current. Customer support was critical to us, and we did note that while we were deciding on what solution to choose, we got associated with the customer service rep who actually helped us as we went live. So we did not talk extensively to our salespeople. We did, and we had a good relationship with them, but the actual person that was implementing our solution was the person that we talked to through the sales process, which is huge. Price for the product, very good. Usability, great. And workflow, big requirement for us. So, you know, we were pretty much of a cost-conscious consumer. We needed good usability. It was important for us to have technology, and the customer service was huge for us. So those were our scorecards. By the time we got to the final pilot, we had 2 players left, Front Range and TechExcel. We installed both of the systems. We piloted 100 calls in 2 weeks, which was quite extensive pilot and quite a lot of work to get both workflows set up. And there were shortcomings of the Front Range product, so we didn't get all the way through every single process. And TechExcel won kind of hands down on the ease of setup. I know I have workflow first, but ease of setup was huge at the time. Now, in the end state, workflow became the biggest winner of all. Sales support and availability and customer portal. Customer portal, for us to be able to light up a customer portal very quickly, was huge. We did that in about 2 weeks after we had the solution done. So we didn't have a portal before. So what we did was we said, okay, we're going to implement pound for pound and just put in the call center. And then after the go live, maybe a couple weeks later, we'll put in the customer portal, which is how it worked. It was quite nice. During the POC, all these positives about TechExcel came out, and at the end, by the end of the proof of concept, TechExcel did get a unanimous vote by our implementation team to go ahead with it. That was very significant, you know, that everybody liked it, everybody was on board, and I think that was huge with respect to the speed at which we could implement, because everybody got a chance to use it from the respect of the core users. Everybody liked it. We let them decide. They picked it themselves, and you know, that was it. After we complete our pilot with TechExcel and we were pretty locked in, we said we're going to go through a final quote-unquote go-live testing and review. We punched in our workflows. We really honed them down. We selected a couple features to defer to phase 2 of the project so that we could just go live and not have issue. We did sacrifice a couple things, which were emailing and integrating email with TechExcel, but we got that done relatively short order after the go live. We were just concerned with data conversion and making sure we didn't use any calls. Now, on the data conversion, we did do it in all ourselves except for 1 question or 2 questions we had, but for the most part, we did all our own data conversion, even in the pilot. The advanced pilot gave the team great level of comfort that they were going to do everything and control everything inside of TechExcel and not have much of an issue. And then for the data conversion, they got a chance on the advanced pilot to test the data conversion because we had written all the imports, and that all worked well. I think that was key because this pre-import during the advanced pilot of the data really flushed out a couple issues with how we had imported the data and how it would work in the system. So from an advanced pilot perspective, that data conversion flushed out some issues, but then too, when we went live, because we had pre-done the data conversion and we just took another pass at it at go live, it was really easy. So it was huge. We had written actual routines to pull from our old SQL call system and queue it up for the new TechExcel system, which is very simple. Now, after the advanced pilot, we had the simple check. We wrote the check. After seeing the advanced pilot, we were showing it to our management team and our board. People were drooling to get this product in. Our customers were all excited. Our service reps were scared, but that's good. They're always paranoid. I was smiling because I could see that. Look, we had done a good job, and at the day of go live, there were minimal issues. There were really no issues that really had any massive impact. And we had about 3 hours on the night of the go live with data conversions where he kept people a little late, and we went through testing and ensuring that the data conversion was right. But at the time of purchase to go live was a couple weeks, so our ROI was really solid, and we had a really positive go live experience. What we did have challenge with was, we had a hyper schedule. This was like 90 days we needed to go live because we felt that if we didn't rip off the Band-Aid, we'd never do it. So we selected and deployed the system really quickly, and that was hard. Coming from a homegrown system, you do have some statements of, well, it'll work any way you want. Now, the workflow of TechExcel really mitigated the issues of coming off a homegrown system because we could tailor the screens to the way we wanted them. And if I show you some of the screens now, and if you're using TechExcel, you might see differences because we have easily customized with their engine how we use the product. That was huge. One of our challenges with the project was that we are split over 7 time zones. So how we handled that was we took the U.S. zone first, and then we rolled out across the world over multiple days. So our operation is such that it facilitated that, and we did have a little bit of disruption from respect of development to support where they did not have complete communication for a couple of days when we were trying to get everything synced up. But that was okay. There was no major issue there across time zones. The challenge was, too, to get the customer self-service portal up really quickly after the go live, which we didn't. That was huge. That sounded daunting, but with the product, it really went smoothly. No major issues. We didn't have our customers in the system before, as I said, with respect to customer portal. So our ability to move people over, we had letters go out, we had phone calls. When you call into your support desk, we had a recording. We told people to go over to the portal. That really took some heat off of us relatively shortly after the implementation. Like I said, I think it was 2-3 weeks after we went live that we popped the portal up. So that was, tremendous from the respect of helping us manage the customers and manage our environment. As far as the status of items in our existing system, the challenge that we had to overcome. In our existing system, we didn't have a good status and a good workflow to say, okay, look, Joe worked this item, now Mike has to work it. Who has control of it? Now, going live to a system with workflow, that was very challenging, and we made sure that we had our people use the workflow engine extensively before we went live because they were able to then see, okay, where are my open cases? How can I see them? Now, when they went live, we did make a few adjustments because nothing's perfect going in. But what I would say is, with the workflow, if you're not used to a workflow and you're going to workflow, the ability of things to get out of a state where you can touch it scares some people. Also, too, the concept of ownership passing was a challenge for us and unique to address so quick. Usually, whoever initiated the case had ownership, and it was hard for people to let go of ownership of that case. That issue kind of went away. We really, as soon as we went live and we kind of walked people through that the system was solid, cases wouldn't get lost, people became less scared of the fact that they didn't have ownership of the items. ownership passes to the current worker of the case. But once we gave them visibility to the queue, everybody could see everything, people, and the speed at which it increased our throughput, people started to attach to that idea and really liked it. One of the challenges with our existing system was a way to find bottlenecks. And I'll kind of show you how we implemented TechExcel and how we implemented states to flush out our bottlenecks. Within our prior system, we didn't really have a real good way to find where cases were getting stopped up and how to push them through the system. So this system has actually allowed us to start to measure that a lot tighter, and especially on the development side is where we focus a lot of our attention. We did have our prior system was down every now and then. It wasn't a huge issue. It was like 95% uptime. We needed 99% uptime. That was something that we wanted to attain, and we have with TechExcel. I don't believe we've been down, except one time when I screwed up the logins on my fault. That was my fault. But other than that, I think the whole system has been really up all the time. Another piece that was a challenge for us was the handoff between development and support. We didn't have a clear project in our old system for support and a project for development. So cases didn't clearly pass off between development and support. We couldn't track time, and we couldn't track who was responsible for a specific issue when it passed from support to development. That was a huge benefit of going to TechExcel, and really to be able to do that quickly was based upon the workflow and the ease of passing cases around. Otherwise, we couldn't have been able to implement as quickly as we did. Again, we talked about this, but during the selection process, we were very set on demoing on our own boxes. It was very important to do that for us. Now, what we've gotten out of the system based upon choosing TechExcel was proper accountability and no orphan items in the queue. Now, every case is clearly assigned to a person, and we don't have any issues where a case now gets left. We're able to run escalation issues based upon how old an item is and how quickly it's been addressed. We can flip it over to someone else in the queue. You can actually automatically assign calls, but we haven't done that yet. That's one part that we haven't used. We actually let the calls come into a queue and we pick them. But we're thinking that we'll start to assign calls in the queue. We haven't done that yet. Specifications, as far as easily transferring data from our support staff over to our QC staff or our development staff. So when we have an issue in tech support that results in a program change, we didn't have any easy way to pass that over to development and track the time at which it took development to respond to us. We can now, with the workflow, easily do that. And that really was pretty simple to implement, and it really didn't slow us down in implementation. So it was really spectacular that we could punch through that issue and have traceability from our support people to our QC back to support, through programming without adding much extra effort and still implementing on time. It was tremendous. Another benefit of what we received from our product is that we didn't have visibility to issues in programming. So support would say, okay, I sent this call over to programming, but there would be no timestamp when that went to programming. Now with TechExcel, we pass it into a development project, and then as soon as development receives a call, it gets tracked as a separate case. It gets a response time. We see how fast they're responding, how long it's taking them to reply on specific issues, and what's really going on. And that has eliminated tremendous amounts of communication between the departments where people are saying, what's the status of this? How's this going? When is this going to be done? So that's been tremendous, and that was really just by implementing TechExcel, you get that out of the box without really having major work to do. The other big piece, and like I said, a couple weeks after we went live, 3 weeks, we implemented the call queue. And the call queue, because of the way that the product works, it was simple just to light it up, use our existing customers, give them passwords, and start having them log in. So we were able to quickly implement the actual customer portal, give our customers access, and let them see what we were seeing in the system. Now, the tremendous thing that this did for our customers and for us was that we noted the quality of the response increased because we had a documented, hard and fast, in writing solution on the web that our customer and our support people could review and check. And so that kind of, I believe that once they saw it in writing, they took more time with the answer and didn't give as flippant of an answer. They gave a more focused, concentrated, accurate answer because they knew it was documented in writing. That was a side benefit of going to the web, and it was a tremendous benefit to our customers. Training, with the amount of groundwork that we did, training became a non-issue, and I think about that in all implementations. By the time you get to training, you should have everything nailed out. There should be no what-ifs. How do we handle this? Now, obviously, some come up, and some come up every day. But the majority of your process and workflow should be nailed down by the time you go to training. If you don't do that, there's no way you're going to implement the 90 days. Our line in the sand that said, look, we're going to train 1 week before we go live, period, really helped us make sure that the product was 99% set up and the training went smooth. There were few questions because we had a process flow already working there. Every question could be answered as far as a nuance or subtlety of the process. And then what did come up, because of the workflow engine, we were able to quickly adjust our workflow to allow us to handle that request rather than trying to program a whole application and make it fit every consequence. I think that was key to our 90-day implementation, getting training, slating it for a week before it go live, and then as soon as you're done with training, you kick off the go live. People are much more likely to remember what they were taught last week than something they were taught 4 weeks ago. As a rule, TechExcel is easy to implement. I think that call queue systems, they're not transactional based from the perspective of posting transactions to a financial system. However, we have integrated to our billing system. It's not as many controls as would be in a financial system and not as detailed from a respect of balancing transactions and bringing over balances. You just have 500 calls open, you bring those over, you balance those by customers, you're set, you're done. So that's huge. Our users did not immediately fall in love with the product or any product, but they did see the benefit. And I think that's critical to getting that quick, positive, successful implementation. We kept preaching the points at which we wanted to resolve. Here's the reasons why we're doing this project. They might not be your reasons, but they're ROIs for the company, so this is how we're going forward. So users were not absolutely tickled pink, but for an implementation on the scale of happiness from that, as far as that goes, they were very happy. Managers, our management team did fall in love immediately with the product, and I think that was due to training. They saw that they could get more information quicker, and they could manage their staff and get tangible benefits, which is our bugs and our actual issues time to resolution decreased tremendously. And in that vein, everybody likes happy customers. So at that place, the world was a better place once we got done with the implementation. So it really had a huge impact. Go live was a so what. The day we went live, the Monday we went live, I was worried that people weren't using the system. We made sure we shut down the old system. We were like, can this really be? We're tracking the number of calls that we entered, and we actually had an uptick in calls where we could enter more calls. So we really didn't see any major issues with go live where you traditionally see a backlog of events or a decrease in service. And our customers actually, we surveyed them about 2 weeks after go live, and they were very happy with the solution. So they noted increased satisfaction. After even 2 weeks, they were happy with the way we were documenting calls and processing transactions. Now, what did this get us, this quick implementation? Well, we exterminated bugs. If you look at our software right now, we're down to about 14 or 15 bugs in our existing code, which is deployed to, 500 or so customers. So when you look at that, the fact that we only have 14 bugs in various stages of QC is tremendous. So exterminating bugs was a huge part of this solution, and how we did it was when we talked about freeing up QC time and freeing up support time where they aren't communicating the issue between each other. They just document it, save it, they have a place to dialogue, they have a place to organize. That's how we were able to eliminate the bugs, as well as when we implemented TechExcel, and I'm going to punch over to TechExcel real quick, our actual dashboard. This is how we manage our events. You can see today I lied, we have 17 bugs in the queue. But when we implemented TechExcel, we also implemented a numbering system and a actual process for which cases flow through the system. So you could see that we actually moved cases from state QC to development, because QC was taking the call and listening to the question and actually moving it into a design and moving it into programming and move it into follow-up, et cetera, et cetera. Now you can see here through TechExcel, just by laying out our process, we were able to move from X amount of steps, which is 22 to 62. You could see we had steps on every number from 22 to 62. 40 steps, and you can see right down here we're down to about 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 steps. So we've been able to eliminate a tremendous amount of steps just by actually watching the workflow and seeing where there was a backlog, seeing why that was an issue. Now, what the beautiful thing about our queue is, you can see this shows us QC development. Every phase in our queue has about 1 or 2 items in it, except for test queue and QC, where we see we're having a little bit of a bubble in QC. And we do that because we're gaining our testing. So as things punch out of the programming queue, we wait, we get about 10 items, we QC those all at once and then punch them out as long as they're not sub-1 issues or mission-critical issues. So that's TechExcel has allowed us this visibility, which has allowed us to find out where the backlogs are, eliminate the steps, and make the workflow very simple and smooth. This is almost like a textbook of how I'd want our queue to look. So it's very, very good from that perspective. So we have exterminated our bugs. We've integrated with our primary system. So we run our accounting system, and our accounting system is our proprietary system. We have actually integrated the billing. So we have an API, and we just were able to quickly take data out of TechExcel, shove it through our API, and integrate billing in probably a week, but that's not a week worth of effort. So when we sometimes bill for programming, we sometimes bill for PSG, we were taking days to bill, and we were monthly billing. So we moved from monthly billing to weekly billing with less effort. Now, our customers don't like the every week bill. We got to get through that. But we moved to weekly billing with less effort than we had been currently doing monthly billing. And our collections are up. There are a few more complaints, but I think that's a matter of targeting the billing and people knowing what they're being billed for, and then resolving the issue more quickly and closer to the event. So we were able to increase our billing cycle fourfold and reduce our work because we didn't have to rekey the bills. So it's a tremendous amount of productivity from TechExcel, because inside of our incidents, right, we're using Service Track. So inside of an incident, inside of TechExcel, we're able to quickly track what's outstanding, and we're able to bill for that incident. So I'm just going to show you real quick in TechExcel how we're doing that. And I'm sure you guys have the integrated billing at your facility, but any error fix, right, we can go into Service Track, we can just create a new service item, and we can bill it. And this is tremendous because we're taking these billings straight over to accounts receivable and punching them in. To me, this has been a huge element of positive. And we could also mandate a description. We can say if it's billable or not. It's set up just right out of the box exactly how we wanted to use it. So to us, that was tremendous. As well as SLAs on the incident info screen, you can see what our response time is. 15 minutes did we respond, what's the required response time, all those type of things. These elements are tremendous. Both the time tracking as well as the response time has been tremendous for us to be able to track. So integrated billing, tremendous. I talked about week to week, to month, and reduced two heads. So we had, prior we were having people call in, and actually we had a person up front that would take the calls and actually type them in. That's been eliminated. We don't need to do that. We had a temporary person in QC that was actually managing the data entry into our QC system. Now that we have TechExcel and we have one system for QC as well as support, we've eliminated that position. I've showed you our visibility to our production cycle, which is huge. Our customers are very happy from the respect of they're seeing everything. Our resolution time has dropped dramatically. Like we're seeing like 30 to 40% time decrease to resolution, and sometimes even more. And let me just flip back to this because we're so happy with this type of statistic. We are now tracking days stale. So days stale is how many days something stays in a specific TechExcel state. So we can track how many days old the case is as well as how many days stale and see if there's any hangups. So our customers are tremendously happy that they see progression through the chain. And when we've explained to our customers how, what the process is of an implementation and a change to the product, they kind of get it and they're happier saying, okay, I get that it takes a couple minutes. I get that it takes time for us to get answers. And when they can see and have visibility to that, it's huge. Mission clarity. I'd say it's very easy for me to say what I want, target specific states, target specific amounts of bugs that are outstanding. I want to target our days old. That's one of the metrics we're trying to get down to 5. So every error fix, we're trying to get the average days old on error fix is down to 5 and the days stale down to 2. So that means that something will only sit in the queue before it moves states a day. So that mission clarity for us to be able to say, okay, here's what we've got, here's where our numbers are, here's what we need to do. It's great. And then fun and easy board and directors meetings. When I can show this data to our board of directors, it makes it very clear what we're doing from the respect of how fast we're getting things done. The other thing that we're able to do on the respect of productivity is, you can see here I have an effective master that shows me my billable for each person, and then the number of incidents closed per month, per week, per year. So we're able to quickly glean this data out, and this is just a SQL interface that we've written to extract data from the TechExcel, and we're very pleased with the ease at which we can get at the data. Professional services at TechExcel, we thought they were good quality. We only used 2 weeks of their PSG period for the whole implementation, and it's quite complex, and we have massive workflows. I'm not totally proud of the fact that our workflows are so deep. We're trying to simplify them, but we do have big workflows, and we have done a lot with them. We organized our tasks for professional services. I don't know if they like that, because boy, it was pretty rough, long sessions. But when they came in, we said, look, here's the list of issues. Let's go through them piece by piece. And we actually preloaded. So if we had our support gentleman coming in, or our implementation gentleman, when he was coming into our office, Mike, we said, okay, look, here's what we're going to have you look at when you get in so you can hit the ground running. We had him address those issues. We were ready to pilot. We had our people there. And Mike pretty much conveyed most of the knowledge he had. We felt we were pretty up to speed on TechExcel, only using him 2 weeks, which to me is tremendous. It speaks to the easy use of the product as well as his ability to communicate to us. So, what I learned and what I think is key, how to get these things in quickly, set up your workflow first and outside the system. Buy a copy of Visio. That's That's the best investment you'll make. USA, understand, simplify, automate. We've learned that through the. I've personally been involved a lot with the Marmon group and the ITW group that preach the understand, simplify, automate. So I get it. That's key to the process. Workflow rocks. Workflow is the greatest, bar none. I love workflow. It's hard to teach people what workflow is and how it controls your day. And a lot of systems claim to have it, but TechExcel has it in spades. And once you use a workflow system, I think you're going to be hard-pressed to leave it. Web-based deployment is cheap. We like the web-based deployment. Some people think that the user experience is not as good as on a thin client, on a fat client, but we really like the deployment. It's easy. It makes sense. There's very little compromise in the deployment. So very nice. TechExcel, I love TechExcel. We love TechExcel. We really have had a good experience. Don't put a developer in charge of a product segment. I think that our project segment that had the most time was the one that had the developer in charge, our programming group. But as far as clarity, I think I would have put one of our support people to go understand the process and implement it. And me having some roots in development, I can throw stones at developers any day I want. So set up a drop dead go live date and stick with it. I mean, unless you're going to create havoc for the organization, that was key. I mean, people geared to it, people ran to it, and they really did a good job. So at this point, I'm going to open up for questions and answers. I'm going to leave the next webinar information up so that you guys can see that. And yeah, at this point, I'll open up for questions and answers and see if anybody has anything they need to know.
Thank you, George. We do have a couple of questions. First of all, one of them, they want to know if people want to know if they could download today's presentation. This presentation has been recorded, and we will put it up on the TechExcel website and send out a link to all the attendees so you can access George's presentation again and hear the recording. And that will come out next week, and we will send out an email. I wanted to go through some of the questions. One of them that came in, George, is do you allow customers to submit tickets via email? Is that a process that you guys participate in?
We did at first, but because of the communication and pushing them to the web where they could respond again over the web and have clarity with the web communication of what they had and ease of attaching tickets and ease of seeing information, we've kind of reduced it. We still let them submit, but I think it's phasing out relatively quickly. With the access to knowledge base and the access to the case history, the email kind of phases out because as soon as you get them in portal, they're going to see their status. They're more apt to go there than to respond via the email. So we've kind of phased that out. We thought it was going to be big, but it wasn't.
So with phasing that out and having customers going to the portal, do you still send email notifications to customers regarding their status?
Yeah, we still send. We have escalations internally as well as notifications to the customer when the case closed with a link back to the web portal. So that's how we're encouraging them to use the web portal is by these notifications. But we've noted that once the notification goes out with a link back to the case, 9 out of 10 times they're responding through the portal anyway. So that might be, it might not be us, it might be those links that have driven people back to the web. And the fact that they can get the stats on all their cases. It just makes sense. I think people are getting more savvy on that.
Right. So another question was, how easy was it to set SLA to incidents?
Easy. I did it, you know, and I had one of my tech managers tell me that it was going to take days and months and years, and I just got angry and did it one night. And I think it took me 25 minutes. And granted, I just set up one default SLA to everything so that we could start tracking our time before we drove out SLAs. And so if you wanted to get complicated and assign a specific SLA based upon incident type, you can do that. But just to track your response time in general, you could set that up in 5 minutes. Now, where it'll get tricky is when you start to say, well, my response time for this type of call is this piece, but it's still quick. It's still easy.
That's great. And follow up to that is, how do you monitor key performance incidents?
KPIs, so I'm assuming they mean key performance indicators?
Yes, indicators.
Yep.
That was my mistake.
No problem. So we actually have our cases punched out into, like we just query them through this dashboard, through our dashboard. It's pretty easy. We track out issues closed by programmer. We also track utilization by our staff. We also track incident discovery. So one of our key issues is incident discovery per week. How many incidents per module are we getting? And then is that a regression or not? So we track all that, and then by customer, as well as the flow in the case. Like, so we say how many error cases are outstanding at any given day, how many incidents are outstanding, how many days they're outstanding. All those indicators we track daily in our Scrum. So this is our Scrum template, and we go through each of these indicators every day. We say, look, so-and-so closed this many calls. What's the difference in calls? Some of our people, you'll notice closed calls, these are our analysts towards the bottom. So the analyst could close a call. Towards the top is our programmers. So, you know, when it gets deep in programming, they can close more cases than the analysts can build, because the analysts are working on a little higher level, and these are a little smaller work units. And our analysts sometimes will close a case, but for the most part, that's how we're tracking how many cases get closed a week, month, year. And then we've also added custom fields inside of our customer to see who's on beta, when they're, how we rank them for beta. So this is just a unique thing that we did in like 10 minutes. We picked all customers and we said, are they a beta candidate for our new product? And we ranked them. And then we said, okay, let's go get our ranking 10, right? And we're going to say 10 means they're really good at beta testing. Like a 0 would be, oh, we're pretty scared that they're even going to get our new version of the product. So we go to the 10s first, and we try and rank our 10s and say, okay, get these people on beta and see what they're doing, and see how fast you can get them up to the specific version. So we did that and pretty much quickly in TechExcel by adding custom fields to the customer. And it was really cool. It was really easy. We did that fast.
That's great. So we have time for maybe one more question, and this is, does iRely manage their development products within ServiceWise?
We do now. We're initiating a project to go to DevTrack. The only deficit that we see inside of, well, one of the deficits that we see inside TechExcel to manage development is that we're not capable of breaking a call, or at least we don't understand it. Maybe there's a way, but inside of ServiceWise, there's no good way to break a call into viable work units that then get assigned to code. And we've been piloting DevTrack. There's so many devs out there, I can't remember which product it is, but DevTrack, which is a TechExcel product. We've been piloting that for our development, and with the burn down charts and with the actual ability to break a case into a work unit, track that work unit into a global case, and then actually link that all into TFS. Huge, tremendous. So we're working on how all that fits, and hopefully we'll have a 90-day implementation of that by sometime next year. But right now we are tracking it inside of TechExcel, and it works. We just need better data.
Well, this is great, George. We really appreciate your time, and thank you very much for your presentation. And as I mentioned before, this webinar will be, the recording of today's webinar will be up on the TechExcel website. And for everyone's information, the next upcoming webinar for TechExcel is the ServiceWise 9.0 and CustomerWise 9.0 releases. And that webinar will be held on February 29th. And we'll cover the new features within the products and learn about the new enhancements like logical asset maps and many more things, which are, you can find more information on our website. Thank you again, George, and thank you to everyone who attended the webinar, and I hope it was worthwhile. And have a great day. Bye-bye.